Breakfast right here on Citizen TV, and it's that time when we take a look at the headlines. This morning we are privileged to have Senator Kimani Wamatangi from Kiambu on my right, extreme right, karibu sana. Next to him, Kipruto Rapkirwa, Deputy Party Leader ANC, also an aspirant for the Trans Nzoia Senate seat. On my immediate left, we have Karanja Kabage, a businessman, a law lecturer, and also an analyst. Good morning. And Senator Boni Halwale from Kakamega, also aspiring to be the next Kakamega governor. Good morning, Senator. Karibu sana.
Good morning.
Now, a quick look at the headlines. At least today we have quite a number of political headlines. NASA campaign wave has Jubilee worried. That's a star. Forays by the National Super Alliance into traditional Jubilee strongholds have sent shockwaves through the ruling party 5 months to the August election. I don't know, Bwana Wamatangi seems to disagree with that headline, but you tell us why.
Absolutely.
On the Daily Nation, nightmare of MCA numbers in election. Now this one, Ward Representative hopefuls take number of total aspirants in August election to 40,000. Now this is unprecedented because in 2013 there were only 14,000. Now this is close to 3 times that number. It means more Kenyans want to represent the rest of us in terms of politics and legislation. Also on the front page of the Daily Nation, and this is one story that we'll definitely have to talk about, the torture horror that cost Alliance principal his job. Now this is one thing that we rarely get to discuss. I'm sure those of us who attended high school in Kenya, it's something that we may have gone through at some level, but we never knew or thought that it would happen at Alliance High School. Yes. On the Standard, it is a slow start for NASA. Senator Boni Halwale, opposition talks on a joint presidential candidate and the mode of filling aspirants for other elective seats have reportedly been slowed down by 2 key items. You'll tell us what those 2 items are. And now, House of Cards for Jubilee. How rich Jubilee aspirants are flooring poor rivals. That's the front page of the Standard. It's become a rich boys thing, that only the rich are able to do this thing in Jubilee. Now, let's start off with the bullying issue at Alliance High School. And that story, it has forced the principal to resign this week. Yes. Quite a number of people have been interrogated because now it has become a police case. We're talking about high school students getting injured, broken limbs, blood, others being maimed, and they can no longer attend school. Now this is happening at Alliance High School. If you see page 3, there's even a picture there on page 3 of the Daily Nation. A Form 1 student at Alliance High School displays bloodied clothes. He said the garments were soaked in his blood when he was beaten by prefects at the school. Now, of course, it is a culture that has been there for a while, and anyone who went to a Kenyan secondary boarding school must have witnessed it at some level. Probably not as extreme, but Alliance High School, did you expect it to be there to such a level that can force the principal of Alliance High School to resign?
Well, Fred, let me first acknowledge, as you have said, that most of us who went to high school during those earlier years, we are living testimony of this thing, and largely victims. Let me say, you know, in where I went to high school, I went to Nyandarua High School, and of course this was rampant in almost every high school. You know, when you get to school, boys would be telling stories of how they have learned this game from others, and you know, we used to have all manner of torture. I remember myself, there was one big burly fellow who was really after my case. So every time when we meet on the street in the daytime, he would give me a bottle, a clean bottle, and then he would tell me, Jioni, before dinner at 4, you bring me this bottle, usiku enda fungia giza. And then, you know, and if you don't bring it, ni viboko. In fact, one day I ended up getting very injured myself. I mean, you know, I got hit. Let me say this, that yes, we've always thought that this thing is way gone. I must say, you know, I'm apologetic about it, especially alliances in Kiambu, but also to acknowledge the principal has been, as far as I'm concerned, because I've known him at a personal level, really he's been a man who has been strictly very, very strictly, administrative and running his school very, 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 keenly and well. This could have been happening, as everybody is surprised, could have been maybe happening behind the scenes.
According to this story, surely, they say the school administration was aware that this is happening.
That is surprising. That is very, very surprising. But for all intent and purposes, for every time that I've gone to Alliance and all the time we've interacted with them, and you've seen from the results actually they've been having, in the national examinations, I never knew. But it's a big surprise. I still would want to hear the other side of the story from the principal. I've not heard it. My mind has been very, very clear that he's been a guy who's been very intent on getting the boys to excel. But however, let's say this, and this has got to be said very, very clearly. We can no longer separate these young boys when they commit these kind of crimes from facing the full force of the law. When I was in high school, and that time I was a Form 1, I remember one night, I always remember that one night, when all the boys came out from the dormitories, and there were some few girls, about 5 girls who were being punished, and those girls were mass raped by a whole dormitory of boys, and you can imagine the trauma, the devastation,
and no one got punished for it.
And eventually there were talks, a bit of caning, but nobody ever was punished legally.
As a parent, what does it make you feel? Because this is Alliance High School. It's probably one of the best schools we have, if not the best. Yes, everyone wants to go to Alliance High School. Is that a place you take your child, where, if you read the story on page 3, the prefects have even forced some Form 1 students to spend the night lying flat on the graves of some of the founders of our school for the entire night. Would you feel comfortable as a parent sending your child to Alliance High School?
Well, I hope this is something that we are likely to manage, because we cannot afford the name of Alliance High School to go down the drains, given the history and the fact that it has played a very pivotal role in the development of leadership and also management of our society. But be that as it may, this is a reflection of the fundamentals of our society. We are getting to a situation where we solve our problems by venting our frustrations through others, those who are lesser. Remember, in the medieval civilization, where there was some primitive wars in Europe, and some of the soldiers were sodomized by their seniors. This is a reflection of the madness of our society, and we should not be worried about Alliance per se. We should be worried about what are we going to do to reverse this particular trend.
Yes.
Possibly 40 years ago, as a young boy in Mangu High School, we never faced such a situation, because the system was that almost every Form 1 was paired to a Form 2. So that you get some kind of mentor who takes you through the process and acts as a protector, and the prefects were closely involved in terms of ensuring there is order. But I may not say the same today. So it is something that we must ask ourselves as a society. It's not Alliance alone.
Yes.
There are a number of other schools which may be happening to a less extent. You remember, like 8 years ago, there was a lot of problems in some schools in Nairobi. I don't want to name their names, where some young students were sodomized by their seniors. So it is something that as a society we must ask ourselves, what can we do to remedy the situation?
And indeed the problem is not only at Alliance High School, because only last month there's a school in Western Kenya, also a big renowned, one of the big schools in Western Kenya, where there were claims of sodomy as well. Yes, and these are things that are happening. Probably Alliance High School is making headlines because it is probably our premier or our one of the topmost schools that we know. But we also know, because we understand it is the prefects who are doing this. Prefects have become so powerful. You have to remember an instance in Nyeri only a few years ago, where the entire school turned against prefects and actually burnt them down in a dormitory. After that, we saw a flurry of activity. MPs decided to probe the issue. Even I'm sure there must have been a report, investigations into that. Yet years down the line, we go back to the same problem.
Well, I think what we are witnessing is the whole issue of lawlessness and impunity. nobody has a right to inflict pain on anybody in this country, whether you are in high school or you are at the university or anywhere. Unfortunately, the society seems to reach to a point whereby individuals take the law in their hands. And as a nation, a civilized nation anywhere in the world, must realize that the life of a human being is so prime. It must be protected. And that's why in the Constitution we say two things are most important: protection of life and property. And therefore, students must be made to understand they are not above the law. Just like now, a few minutes ago, we were seeing what was happening in Eldoret, right? People believe that the only way out is to act in a lawless manner. I think this society must reach a point whereby we say, okay, we will hold you to account. It doesn't matter who you are.
However old or
however young, old you are, you have to be held accountable. Now, the day we do that, then we change the course.
Yes.
But if somebody can even ban a dormitory, we have had, last year we had a spate of what? Many schools being banned. All right? And how many people are punished?
In fact,
and they are known.
There's no conviction of
exactly.
Now.
So now, what happens? What is to sodomize a student? What is to punish a student? Now, we therefore need to look at what are our values. And I would also say that there should be strict code of conduct in schools. And once, because you see, for there to be the kind of conduct we are talking about, it begins with a small thing. Just slapping a student, you get away with it. The next minute, you put him down, you get away with it. The next minute, you take a panga, you do anything. So it has to be, there has to be a code of conduct, strict code of conduct developed by the Ministry of Education that says this kind of behavior must not be allowed.
Yes.
Now from there, then you can arrest these situations.
Because it is now a cyclic issue, because as a Form 1 you're subjected to this kind of bullying. Then of course you get to Form 2 and there are Form 1s coming in, and you feel like it's your turn to subject the new ones to the same kind of treatment. Yet there's some parents, and even the society to some extent, actually sees this as something normal. That yes, it is normal transition for young boys and girls to go through that kind of harassment, probably to toughen them up. Do you agree with that, Wanaboni?
I don't agree. I also don't agree that this is a problem of schools. What we are seeing is a criminal activity in respect of a particular head of school who has demonstrated administrative failure. There are many heads of schools who are successful. The reason why these things happened at Alliance High School is obviously administrative failure on the part of the principal. He did not have time for the school. As alluded to by Senator in Waiting, Kirwa, the successful schools, for example, where I interact very closely, Kakamega High School and Musingo High School, this kind of thing would never happen, because the Form 2 is the father of the Form 1. And he is expected to induct this new boy into the school, the best friend, to show him everything and possible. And even if this boy in Form 1 does badly in the first continuous assessment test, the class teacher normally asks the Form 2 boy who was taking care of him to explain what problems he has been witnessing with this new student. So it is failure on the part of Mr. Kariuki, and as a parent of Alliance High School, I expect that our children are at home with us now. I expect that we are going to be called to school. We are going to be given the details of what took place, and that the school will be prepared to listen to us, for us to help in sorting out the problem. What we cannot do is to try and attempt to sort out this matter through the media.
Yes.
This is a criminal activity. Yeah.
So teachers and head teachers in particular should take the blame directly if at all it's happening within their schools?
Teachers, nobody else. Not the students, not the prefects, not the parents.
Yes.
The teachers.
Senator, do you
Fred,
agree?
Fred, there's something that I think we should not lose sight of that was mentioned by Karanja. You see, remember that the scale of the destruction that took place a few months ago across all the schools in the